What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we are going to be breaking down the 49ers playoff chances, however many they have left. After that loss on Monday night, Matt, that brutal loss against the Buffalo Bills, is it realistic to think they could even make the playoffs still?
I'm actually going to go with yes. 9-7 might do it. Looking at the rest of the NFC, the Minnesota Vikings are in right now at 6-6, but they have a tough schedule coming up. They have Tampa Bay, and then I believe they have a couple of more tough teams to play. The 49ers, looking at it, I mean, if they can win out at 9-7, it's realistic. I mean, they would end up finishing above where the Cardinals are at, and then the Bears and Lions, they're probably going to lose a couple more times. So if the 49ers can get by a really tough out in the Washington football team, Alex Smith has them playing really, really well, then I actually would expect, this kind of goes back to getting some reinforcements. There were comments this last week from John Lynch saying that, Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle might be a little ahead of schedule. My thing is, if they get by Washington, they might be back for the Dallas game. And if they're back for the Dallas game, all bets are off. So if they can win out 9-7 in a weak NFC, I think they can actually get in. And then once you're in, anything can happen.
That's true. I'm going to go no, and not just for the sake of the video, but
right.
I don't see them winning out. I think they can maybe win 1 to 2 more games tops. I think they probably beat Dallas. But that's a tough one because Dallas is still fighting for their division. It's crazy how they can be that poorly.
Yeah. I mean, that's the NFC East though. And
yeah,
I watched them last night against Baltimore, and that was ugly. So, but I mean,
they're all. I mean, the Giants, I believe, are in first place, right?
Yeah.
So that's nothing pretty. But I don't see them beating Seattle with the current crew they have right now. And not that Seattle. I mean, obviously, it's all Russell Wilson. It's a one-man show. Now that he has DK. He's actually able to have a nice duo there and then throw in Tyler Lockett. I don't think that it would be as hard to keep up with them necessarily as long as they're just doing their jobs. I just think that the defense can't stop Russell Wilson consistently enough. I think they would need to agree with you, win out in order to get there.
Yeah.
I just don't think they do that.
Seattle's the last game of the season. You don't think if Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle and maybe Jaquiski Tartt come back that the 49ers would be strong enough to compete with Seattle that last game?
Maybe, but I don't even think they're going to be undefeated until that last game.
Because, I mean, let's be real. The Seattle Seahawks just lost the New York Giants.
That's true.
So, I mean, you never really know.
No.
But, I mean, listen, I'm with you. If they don't win all their games up to that point, it's a moot point anyway because 8-8 is not going to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I think all three of the games leading up to Seattle are really winnable. Arizona's been scuffling. I think that Kyler Murray's kind of struggling a little bit. I think that their running game hasn't been there. And Dallas. Dallas is Dallas, and that's a bad football team. I don't think the 49ers will have any trouble with them. So really, it's the coming up is really going to be a statement game to see where they're at, I mean, I kind of, we picked Buffalo, both of us, to win. I thought it was a wider margin, but kind of just to, have faith in the team. I narrowed that margin up, and I wasn't shocked when Buffalo just ran all over the field. But the Washington football team, if you can get by with Nick Mullins for one more game and then get a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo, because we're now at, I think, week 6 or 7 after his second high ankle sprain. So he should be good to go. You would think, if he can come back and just inject a little bit of life in the offense, take some pressure off Raheem Mostert so that Mostert can get going, pull a guy out of the box. You got to respect Jimmy Garoppolo a little bit in the passing game. And then you have George Kittle along with Jordan Reed, Brandon Ayuk, and Deebo Samuel. I mean, you're looking at an offense now that has a ton of firepower. So really, you just got to get by this one team, and that's a big ask because they have been playing really well under Ron Rivera. Alex Smith has put a jolt of energy into this team. He's easily the comeback player of the year in the NFL. But if they can do it, I mean, who knows? They might be able to run the table.
I mean, that's a really good point. And essentially, we'd be seeing them at what we thought they were going to be week 1, week 2, minus Nick Bosa, D Ford, guys that aren't coming back this year. And I would honestly bet on that team. However, I still think there are some big questions surrounding Jimmy Garoppolo, even if he does come back after this week. Which Jimmy are we getting? Is he rushing it back? Is he fully healthy?
Well, okay, so in my opinion, he wouldn't be rushing it back. And, I mean, you know how I feel about Noodle Nick. Even bad Jimmy is better than great
True.
Noodle Nick. So I see what you're saying, though. I know you want to play devil's advocate, and I know that we're both kind of out on Jimmy as like the long-term future, but I think that just for, a wild card run, I think it might be there. Who knows? And I know we're kind of like, oh, if we win too many games, we're going to have to pay extra if we want to move it for a quarterback. So there's all that in mind. I'm just looking at what's on the field and not necessarily what I want for the team long term. And if you get all those guys back, I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of firepower on that offense. So
it's a lot.
And if you can get rid of Tarvarius Moore and not have to have him out there, with Jacoby out there, then you're going to end up looking a lot better. So.
He was kind of one of the guys that a lot of people on Twitter were kind of campaigning for, advocating for, to get him out there. Let's see more and more. And he was a liability Monday night. I mean, the guy just couldn't take care of his job all night. So I think that you do make a good point. These are, huge pieces of this team that they would be getting back moving forward. I think Arizona poses a much bigger matchup problem than a lot of people think. Even though they have been kind of stumbling and dropping the ball, Kyler's looking like, he's kind of getting that rookie wall, sophomore wall. But I do think that they still pose a solid problem. A mobile quarterback and an absolute stud at a receiver position. That's kind of been the kryptonite to the 49ers, for the last year and a half.
But my only pushback on that is that we already played them once and they lost. So if you think that this coaching staff is any good whatsoever, they're going to make adjustments. And it's a division game. And, basically you kind of expect division teams who are of a similar stature to kind of split their games. So I really feel like that this is going to be one of those games where the 49ers maybe pull it out at the end. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a close game, sure. But I think it's going to be one of those situations where we split with the Seahawks and the Cardinals. I'm predicting them to go 9-7. As it stands right now, four games in a row. That all depends on Washington. If they lose at Washington, then all bets are off, because at that point, like, why risk bringing back Jimmy or George to risk injury for a lost season at that point? You might as well just save them, get them fully healthy. I mean, maybe not, maybe not Jimmy. Maybe you bring Jimmy back just to see what you have in him before you make a firm decision on where you want to go. But George, definitely you sit and you don't risk him for meaningless football.
Yeah, there wouldn't be a point. I do think, I made the point that Dallas is going to be playing for the division. Washington even more so. They have a much better shot, I would say, than Dallas at actually winning the NFC East. And it's ridiculous to think, but it's true. And they are a much better coached football team than the Cowboys are. So I think, you're totally spot on. The real test is this week against the Washington football team. Mm-hmm. If the 49ers are able to pull one out there, I do think they may be able to just build enough momentum to at least get to week 17 and then go from there. If Jimmy, George, Tart all come back and we're looking like they're going to be mostly healthy going into that Seattle game, I think it's going to be, one hell of a game. All bets are off then, because they might actually do it. And if they're playing for their season, if they're playing for a playoff spot, who knows? I don't like to underestimate Kyle Shanahan, even though he's kind of let me down in some key moments. I do think that would be enough for him to get this team right and say, you guys need to make sure you do your job every snap, do whatever the hell I'm telling you to do. And if you do, we'll win.
Yeah. And I actually think that the 49ers getting flexed out of Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys is actually a blessing in disguise if they get past Washington, because then the pressure's off, right? You're playing a 10 a.m. game. in a slate of like 10 other games. Nobody cares. Then you have the Cardinals. They're on a Saturday. Like, who cares? It's Saturday. It's going to be a short week for both teams, but you take some of that pressure off. The real pressure game is going to be Seattle, provided they get through the first 3 teams. But the more that you can, in low pressure situations, work Jimmy back into the lineup and build his confidence, then if he's in rhythm for Seattle, he could have a big game.
Yeah, and that Seattle game, luckily, is going to be, and I say home with air quotes because it remains to be seen if they'll be in Arizona, if they'll actually be back in Santa Clara by that point. So at least they don't have to travel back up to Seattle, because besides last season in Week 17, they do not have a good track record there over the last, decade or so, however long it's been.
Yeah, I just, I think it's a different era, though. I don't think that the Harbaugh 49ers, they really struggled with Seattle. I don't think that the Shanahan 49ers are of the same ilk. I think their record is actually better against Seattle. And I mean, other than a super shanked kick last year, the 49ers would be undefeated against Seattle last year. So
that's true.
The first game this year was ugly. And again, it's so hard to tell whether Jimmy was still injured or what was going on. So this season has been so awkward in terms of trying to figure out what the team actually is. That's why I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They were a Super Bowl team last year. And so if you're telling me that everybody from the Super Bowl team is back and healthy, minus Nick Bosa, obviously, and then DeForest Buckner, who's gone, you can't tell me that team's not at least a wild card team, which is, again, if you get past Washington and John Lynch is not just, blowing smoke, and Jimmy and George are ready to go for Dallas, as I suspect they'll be, then, the training wheels are going to be off on this offense, and you're going to start seeing more effective running. You're going to see more effective passing because you have more weapons. And the 49ers could, Jimmy G, I think in the offense, he averaged like 29 points a game last year. So with full weapons, sky's the limit for the offense.
Yeah, great points there, and I think we'll leave it at that. We'll revisit this video in a couple of weeks. We'll see who's right. Hopefully Matt's right. Look, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer here.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to not get disappointed yet again. It's like the year of disappointments. But yeah, we'll revisit this in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about it then. But as for now, I think that's going to do it for today, guys. I want to thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. If you guys like what you see, show us, hit that like button. And we are also very close to our goal of 10 trillion subscribers. You can help us get there by hitting that subscribe button right now.
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Thanks as always for tuning in. And until next time, go Niners.